Order the Parks Commission meeting for Lake Elmo for November 17th, 2025. All right, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving on to the agenda approval. Is there anybody who would like to make any changes to the agenda?
I didn't see the minutes. Did I have an old packet?
The minutes were not released. I'll leave it on there and we'll
Okay.
keep it to say that they're not there. Anything else for the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. Now we get to the minutes, and as I just announced, the minutes from the October meeting were not prepared.
Yeah, and just to be transparent with that, our clerk is out on leave right now, so those will be available for our next month's meeting, so.
Yes. So everyone, keep your notes and remember what happened, or watch the videotape, which only is 3/4 of the meeting, but anyway, okay.
We did receive our notes from Ellen.
That was very
So we
good.
do have
Thank
some
you.
available.
All right, public comment. Not hearing any public comment. Parks reservation policy.
Yes, thank you, Chair, Commissioners. As you remember, we did review the parks use policy back in June. After review of that, I hesitated about bringing that actually forth in front of City Council because the next conversation came up pretty quickly, and that was in regards to our pickleball noise. Through some realm of that, we did make some changes in regards to our pickleball times and lighting at some of those, so that does change the process that we did kind of go through and approve for City Council to review. So kind of bringing that back and circling that back with the commissioners here to just, again, take a good look over it. Do we need to change anything? Do we need to adapt anything before we present this again to, or forward this on to the City Council? So again, the issue tonight, would the Park Commission like to recommend the changes to the reservation policy? Our current policy states reservations for ball fields, shelters, the Lions Park shelter, and the courts. Again, all of these are refundable. Ball fields, $50 a day, $500 for the season. Shelters, $50 a day, $100 a day, again, all refundable. So, talked about the field lights a little bit at those meetings. Those are the things that are non-refundable. Those were $20 per reservation or $150 for the season. And again, we saw a number of groups, if it's Lake Elmo baseball or fall ball clubs, utilizing that. But again, those light fees that we obtain from that aren't fulfilling what our expenses are for that. So, and finally, our courts. Our courts don't have, our courts were $50 a day or $500 per season. Again, refundable to those clubs that would utilize those. So again, no money gain really from there, as we never really saw a loss from receiving those courts or damage or anything on that matter. So, we didn't foresee any changes in our priorities, our 1 through 4 priorities. First, the city of Lake Elmo, the affiliated school districts, the adult youth athletic or civic organizations, and the 4th one being a non-resident or resident group. So the changes that were proposed were ball field rentals, so specifically to the VFW and Lions, mainly because of the lights being subject to be split for a spring and a summer and a fall seasons. Those reservation costs would be $50 a day if they're individually, or $500 per season. To be honest, we'd likely just probably see the $500 per season for a lot of those groups, unless it was offset from a morning versus an evening having the field type situation. Again, non-refundable, those field lights are subject to a non-refundable fee, again, $20 per reservation or $250 for the season as well. Again, just to recoup some of those fees. Those other fields that are reservable, so we do have Pebble, Tablin that are reservable as well. We go back to just $50 per day or $250 a season. So about half the cost. We do see reservations for those fields, specifically probably more like your Reed and Pebble are your most popular. Lions Park Shelter, again, deposits, those were kind of subject. We did keep some deposits on some situations just because of cleanup issues. But again, a suggestion would be $25 a day, $50 deposit, in conjunction with the fields if they're using it. If it's a special event application, $50 a day with a $50 deposit. So again, you're always getting at least the minimum back on that. Park shelter or pavilions, we looked at doing half and full-time days. That was just comparable to what our communities around us were doing. 6 hours, 12 hours, $100 for a full day with the $50 for being a half a day. Making all of our park shelters or pavilions reservable throughout the whole community and not just those parks that were, that are on our reservable list. So we include Ivywood with that carriage station, as well as Goose Lake that has one as well, so Pebble. We didn't see a whole lot of reservations for those pavilions throughout the year. In my time here, I've probably seen half a dozen. So, again, all refundable, but we do have those cleanup expenses that do come along with that. When you do have a birthday party or celebration of life or something there, I mean, we're still obligated to pick up the garbage on Monday, things like that. So we still end up with those outstanding costs. So, keeping that security deposit does help pay for maybe some of those limited costs. Again, we're not here to make money on the situation, but at least pay for the obstacles that we do have there. If it's trash receptacles, the garbage cans, things like that, bags, etc. Power that goes to some of those pavilions in there as well. We do have power at Pebble and Pebble. I don't know, Goose Lake doesn't have it. Our last one was our courts conversation. We talked about having reservable pickleball courts at Lions, Pebble, and Tablin. We recommend limiting the reservable courts to 50% at each site. So for example, Lions would have 2 of the 4 courts, right? Pebble would have 3, Tablin would have 2 as well, with the remaining courts being open for open play. Individual courts can be reserved up to 3 hours for $20. So an individual couple or group that would come in, they could reserve a court for up to 3 hours for $20. Groups looking to reserve multiple courts can reserve all the reservable courts all at one time. Those costs would be $100 per week for up to 3 hours reservation. So a lot of times we are seeing those courts being reserved for those clubs right away in the morning or in the evenings. So utilizing those times to assess those costs evenly. In the financial impacts, I did kind of go over some of those financials like through my conversation there, but just kind of our expenses that we do see over there. One of the things I didn't talk about was just like our mowing operations. That's going to just be expected. Either, whether or not we have the baseball field or the parks there, the city's gonna mow it if it's internal or external if we're contracting that out. So, but just, again, taking into consideration the resurfacing that we expect every 5 years of those courts, our lighting fees, et cetera. So with that, I'll open that up. I do have a recommended motion on there, unless we want to make any changes to that before we move forward.
All right, let's start with questions right now. Questions from commissioners.
If I could just add one more thing.
Oh.
The reservations do open up in January 2026, January 13th, I think is kind of the hidden number out there. But we are going to a reservation online, so through the new website, we do have a reservation process. So I did, the form that was attached to your packet was a draft form, and what would somebody would normally fill out by hand if they were to look at that. So, you know, what they would be requesting, the times they would be requesting it, you know, is it full season, out of season, or longer thing like that. So, but we will look to see that reservation being online, and users can go right on there directly, submit it online, and then be reviewed, so.
Okay, questions?
Oh, I had a couple questions. So back in the notes, we had talked about volleyball courts also being added to the reservation, and then increasing the security deposit from 50 to 100. So I was just wondering about that.
The security deposit on volleyball courts being 50 to 100, or just,
I think that was in general. I don't know, I was looking back at the notes, and there was a motion, it just says to increase the deposit amount to $100 and to add the volleyball courts to the list of reservable amenities. No, that was the notes from June 16th.
I can look back. I do recall the volleyball courts, you know, mainly Lions, being reservable, because that's the one that's used the most.
Yeah.
We don't have a huge issue as far as like competition with that, as far as, you know, doubling up or
Yeah.
anything like that. We have one or two clubs that use that. Mainly
Okay.
they have specific nights that they use that, a Thursday, for instance, and I think a Saturday. But definitely can put that on there, if it's requested, and then.
It made it into the minutes, the volleyball part.
Okay.
And
The deposit.
$100 too, with an increased deposit to $100.
So that might have been for the shelter and pavilion. I think that's what my notes had showed, because that's a $50 deposit,
Oh,
so
okay.
moving that to 100.
It doesn't say,
It doesn't say in the minutes, yeah, but that's,
only that you made the motion. So you remember all this stuff, right? So we could add in the volleyball easily, right?
Yep, I would just put that under courts.
Right.
I would just add that as a box item under courts.
What do you want to do about the 100?
Shelter's deposit to $100. I'm fine with that, it's not hard to change. If that's what our notes read, we should probably proceed.
Well, it's got full days at $100 for the shelter, I don't know. So you kind of make it, but. The notes weren't clear. Other questions?
I have a question about, I don't recall whether we discussed making the rates different for non-residents, and whether you considered that or saw that in kind of looking at what other cities do.
Yeah, so we did see that, like a lot of other communities do a difference between resident versus non-resident. In the conversation with that is like a lot of times our priorities are listed for resident first before non-resident. So if it's getting to them, I think the impression was like, why are we charging them more for a service in our community for something? If it's available and open, we want it used, right?
Okay.
So whether it's $100 or if we increase it to 200, they're probably not coming here. Like they'll go to one of our neighboring communities, likely.
Yeah. I guess I was looking at it more from the perspective of courts. $20 for 3 hours generally seems, just from a general perspective, seems really inexpensive to me. And I'm wondering if, I'm simply wondering, I guess I don't know whether charging more, since we do have space issues with pickleball, whether charging more for non-residents is something we should consider. That said, we're limiting the amount of reservations to 50%, so that would make a difference there too.
Yeah.
So I'm talking out loud here, or thinking out loud.
Yeah, so it'd be hard to, like, I wouldn't know, like, based off of our, most of our reservations for our courts right now are clubs, right? So I wouldn't be able to separate those based off our reservations now. Are they community or non-community members, right? You know, because we do, like, our clubs are from all over. I mean,
Sure.
they come from a number, Stillwater, Oak Park Heights, everything is all combined in the clubs, right? So, I wouldn't be able to tell you like, oh, 50% of ours all come from community members, right? I wouldn't know. So, until you get down to the individual reservations, which this will imply, where you have that data and that information, where you'll be able to tell that, oh yeah, 90% of our reservations are coming from members outside of our community.
I guess that brings up a good point. So if an organization is renting a court or whatever, I mean, we don't know what the makeup of that is, and that could be predominantly, in theory, non-residents.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, Sophia could have a club that, yeah, she lives in town, so she makes the reservation because she knows when it opens, right? But her, people in her club could be from a number of surrounding communities.
It's like Lake Elmo baseball, they're from all
Yeah,
over.
Yeah, yeah, there's kids from
They're
Woodbury.
predominantly from Lake Elmo,
Yeah.
but there are kids from
Right.
all over.
I mean, some communities do, ask you to somehow prove that, or, because in general, I think these rates are really low, in general.
Just to give you some perspective, to rent a court at the high school for an hour is $20 this year, just went up from
Yeah.
15. And that's just for 1 hour. And some of the commercial places were 15 last year, but I think they've gone up, they've upped their prices recently. Also at the PAC, residents of the school district get a cut rate, and non-residents pay more, plus they can't make reservations until a later time, so that residents get first dibs and at a reduced rate.
Yeah, I guess, Adam, one of my questions is on the form that you attached, and I guess if it's moving to an online system, maybe these are less relevant points. But I was thinking it might be good, instead of just asking about the organization, if applicable, to have like a checkbox for these priorities and a definition of what a non-resident or a resident group might be, and maybe it's 50% or, just to help quantify that. And then I also noticed an inconsistency with the ball field reservation amount. With the non-VFW and Lions, it's listed as $20 per reservation.
Yep.
And I think it's $50 in this text one. So I guess I'm just curious if you can, which one you intended that to be.
So VFW and Lions, as noted in here, is $50 per day or $500 for the season, right?
Yep.
Those non-reservable ones, or sorry, so those other ones, that would be your Pebble, Tablet, and Reed, those are $20 per reservations or $250 for the season.
Okay, so the text should read to $20 per,
Correct.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
I have a quick question on the ice rink. It briefly discusses the fee for the lights, but it doesn't actually go in depth if it's reservable, is it?
Ice rink, we don't do reserve.
I have a couple questions.
go ahead.
So I'm assuming when it says reservations can be made for a week, or is a week constituting 5 days, 7 days?
I would say
What is-
7-day week.
It's a 7-day week, okay. And then, Adam, you had made the comment about, these in general, the fees we're not trying to make money, so am I to assume then that there's no really any rental revenue expectations, or that it's as part of the budget, that there's an expectation that we make X amount of dollars with all of our rentals, whether it's courts or fields?
Yeah, I guess we've never really talked to that in general, like, what do we expect to make, or like kind of have a budget on, like, this is what we bring in, right? So, yeah, we've never really gained an advantage off of rentals or any on that to assume like hey, that will help pay for X, Y, Z.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. What if the school district, well, they won't be walking next year, but it uses one of the parks during the school day to reserve it? Would they still have to pay? You know, if they want to go to Lions Park to play ball and have a picnic on the last day of school. Would the school district be charged for that?
That's normally a special event that they would do. They haven't in the past, normally because midday, no one's using it, right? So,
Right.
if there's exemptions that we want to write in there, we definitely can do something like that. I just know that, during that day when they do like field trip day or, their end of the year season deal, that normally there's nothing.
it's a
But except for the
non-issue.
lights, everything's not a fee. It's just you
Yeah.
get their money back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's really no fees.
Unless they're using the shelter or
shelter.
something, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the
Right.
shelter and the lights, okay.
And there's no reciprocity between the city and the school district, so if we would go and, if the city would go and use a school district space, would we be charged?
I guess we've never have.
I'm guessing we probably would be.
Probably. The other general thing is, and it'll really come up in the work plan, is I recommend that at least once a year, if not every other year or whatever, that we relook at this plan. Because I think some of our answers and some of our position would change over time, all right? That we might see more people from other cities using our facilities and things like that. So I recommend that we look at this at a fairly frequent basis.
Yeah, and I think that just along those lines, I think that the reservation form, if we can collect all of the information that would be helpful for us to reevaluate this in the future, that would be super useful. Like, I think it is really useful to ask folks to specify the time. The priority level, I think, would be great information. I like that there's or expected attendance on here. Like, I think all of that information will be really valuable to help us, dial in a reservation policy the next go-round.
And remembering, there's no real enforcement of this,
Yeah.
so don't want to make it too complex. So you have listed in the highlighted area
Some corrections, right?
the
So,
corrections with the volleyball.
an exemption to the courts down here, we could add those volleyball courts as well.
So, like, reservable pickleball and volleyball courts.
Yep. Still working the words.
So I have another question, just to clarify what's non-refundable and what's refundable. So, I mean, from what's laid out here, the ball field rental says it's non-refundable. The lights are non-refundable, and that's it, I think? All the ball field rentals. But then nothing else
Nothing else.
says it's non-refundable. Is that the intent, or were we talking about, I think we went back and forth on non-refundable the last time we talked.
Yeah, so Lions Park Shelter, $50 deposit, non-refundable. We're keeping that, like, we'd
Yeah.
ask to keep that money because we're still going there afterwards to do
Right.
the general cleanup, right? So park shelters and pavilion, just change that $100 security deposit. In my suggestion would be at least $50 of that would be kept. Again, for the same purpose. The courts, non-refundable. So they submit that money for that week.
Yep.
That's what helps pay for that, those future endeavors of those courts.
Okay, so we probably need to specify that, right?
Okay, other questions?
Yeah, I have a question, on the fiscal impact, and this was already brought up, but, I guess I'm just curious if this would increase the park revenue, to offset regular like, that makes sense to me, but if we're talking about resurfacing the courts, that comes out of the capital improvement, like, budget, and I don't think that it makes sense for hundreds of dollars to get funneled into that and then to like be expected to balance everything. And so I
Yeah.
guess I'm hoping that we can have clarity on if this goes to a general fund.
It does go to the general fund.
Okay.
So likely, so whether you bill out $1,000 or, $3,000 that year or whatever it might be, that'll go back on the general fund. And so, yeah, when we do talk about CIP items and resurfacing and things like that.
We're not gonna get a
Yeah.
couple $100 extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I think you bring up a good point, maybe moving forward with the operational costs, if, it'd be good to see what an average year is for that, and then based on what we're charging for rentals, would we wanna recoup 10% of that, or 20% of that? That's why I asked kind of about the budget line item. Because you're not gonna recoup all of your operating costs, but then we might wanna set again, a percentage or a dollar amount, whether that's 10%, 50%.
Yeah, those are definitely some stats or something, or stats or statistics we can look at as putting those numbers together as we review this policy in year 2, year 3. With that understanding, it's like, hey, we got $10,000 worth of expenses on this amenity alone, right, throughout the year.
Right,
With only $1,000 coming in, right?
all right. Other questions? Good discussion, other questions? Hearing no other questions, now comes to the point where we are looking for a motion relative to this. What are we going to recommend to the city council for changes? Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend to city council the changes to the Lake Elmo reservation policy as presented by staff with these additional changes.
I'll second that.
All right, discussion on the motion.
I think I'd like to see the court reservations increased, probably doubled. To me, $20 is just really not in the line with what we'd expect for a 3-hour rental. I haven't surveyed local entities to know, local cities to know that, but it seems to me that something like $40 for 3 hours is very palatable in my mind.
Want to make a motion for a different price?
No, I just wanted to,
Point it out, that's
Discuss.
fine. I agree. I think over time, I think these need to go up some. I think this would be a good topic to discuss with the city council next time we wrangle with them, because, again, philosophically, for years, it's been kept very low. Okay, but maybe it's the time to move it somewhere else. So, I think that would be a good discussion to have with them. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Any other thoughts on the motion?
Yeah, I think it could be beneficial to look at the data first, because if we're getting a ton of people trying to reserve it sometimes, or just in general, it definitely want to raise it, but if the data comes in and says that there's very few people actually trying to reserve the courts, then there wouldn't be much use raising it. But if people are willing to reserve courts, they're definitely willing to pay more than, what, a third of what they normally pay for?
Yeah. Other comments on the motion?
I think that the 50% reservable, I really like that for the courts. I think that it'll be something that we'll want to keep tabs on how that's working in the future, because I could foresee maybe some conflict coming up related to that, or groups deciding not to reserve if they're only getting 50%. I just want to highlight that that's something that I'm going to have my ears open for.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
also like having reservations only on half of the courts. I think that opens up for families and other folks to use, just one court
And that
at
was
a
a
time.
direct response to comments that have been made, so, yes.
Is this something, if we are halfway through the summer and we realize that the price is either way low or way too high, is this something we can adjust mid-year?
I wouldn't, but I'd wait till the next year in order to do it, because otherwise you have,
Yeah, my suggestion is it comes back basically this time every year. And then we have several months before it's implemented. But we'll have that data too,
Right.
so. And we changed some things here. We'll see how that goes. All right, questions on the motion? If not, are you ready to vote? All right, all in favor of the motion to approve the staff-presented Lake Elmo reservation policy with the changes relative to volleyball, relative to courts, non-refundability, clarifying that, the $100 security department for deposit for park shelters or pavilions, and the $20 per day on other ball fields. Those changes, all in favor of approving this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, the work plan.
So I think I presented this work plan different every year I did it. So I'm gonna have it very similar to what I just did. I'm gonna have it just adjustable, so as we go through this, we'll make some changes. We'll bring that back. Again, today is more of a discussion and, unless we think it's right on, but make some changes to that. We'll bring that back for a full review again in December to submit to city council for our, right before our meeting we had it last year in February, but our workshop with city council to review this policy again, so.
Might I suggest
Yep.
that we do as, I think Pete pioneered this, is go through section by section.
Yeah.
So we'll take on a section, you'll talk about it, we'll make comments, we'll move on to the next section. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, or did you have anything else to tee this up?
Well, I'll just give a little bit of background. Every year we are entitled to make a work plan. The Parks Commission is responsible for creating a work plan, which accompanies the list of projects, maintenance tasks, and objectives for the year. We put together the 2026 strategic work plan. And yes, we'll go through those section by section. Again, our goals for this work plan is one, to ensure that our parks and trail systems are constructed and maintained. Number two is to provide recreational amenities that will attract more users to public lands as well as property taxes to the city. Three is to create a safe environmental work or play place in all of our parks. And four, to serve as a viewing body and to make sure the open space character development is preserved in new developments. So, first section, planning, project, and development. This section addresses larger, long-term park projects and funding opportunities. These projects can be carried out throughout the upcoming year. So with that, that first one, we've kind of always had this on here, I think, since I've started working here. But again, just review that Washington County Central Greenway Trail Plan and other county CIP projects near Lake Elmo. I did reach out to Connor with the Washington County, and we do have him scheduled to come in February again, just to give us an update on current CIP projects that the county will have, but also give us an update again on where we sit with that Greenway Trail Plan, right? So I think last time he was in here 2 years ago, he did discuss that it was put back in the CIP. So that was just, so again, just bringing him, inviting him to this group, just kind of keeps us in line of their vision and expectations we might see forthcoming with that. Second one, review future neighborhood playground replacements and schedule priority. This came up, in our last few discussions with our playground replacements and our conversation with city council. City council wants us to likely not put these playground sets in all these neighborhood parks and really prioritize what are our community parks and maybe more address our new playground sets to those areas instead of every year, it seems like, for 26 playgrounds, whenever we'd be replacing one. Can we minimize these down? So making that priority list and scheduling those playground sets out accordingly, respectively. Third one would be pave the dog park, trail, parking lot and trails. So this would be down at the old fire hall station and next to the dog park. So we are planning to repave the Public Works parking lot there, so it only makes sense to continue that over into the dog park and to initiate a trail that goes from the delatching area of the animals out to the green space. So we're looking at and over to the small dog park area. So just be a small trail through there, but really generating, there is a lot of water that flows through that parking lot, so really guiding that water down into that culvert area, so it's not pooling up right there where you unleash your dog. So that was the intentions of that, paving that area. Talked about last month was the Lion Park playground replacement, so that will proceed moving forward. We'll work with Flagship of getting that reconstructed at Lions Park. Court resurfacing at DeMontreeville, Carriage, and Tablin. This would be our courts that are already there. So DeMontreeville has a full court basketball court, Tablin's got a half a court, and Carriage Station's got a full court. So currently, right now, two of those Carriage Station actually has a resurfacing, or has a surface on it that's similar to like our pickleball courts. So what we'd be looking at is putting some type of sealer on the DeMontreeville Tablin site as well as updating the one at Carriage. So again, that is just a very similar, like I said, to our pickleball courts. It's a thin layer that goes over the top that seals the asphalt, but also we can create lines on it or whatever we'd like to do in accordance with that. So that's the purpose of that resurfacing. Again, just to put another 5 more years on the life expectancy of those courts. So next one would be select locations and installations for a park pavilion. Again, those have been we have a 5-year plan to put a park pavilion in 5 of our parks. So again, looking at our priorities of our parks, making a selection and looking at what type of a pavilion we like to have there. The next one would be our Ridge Park playground replacement. The last couple of months, we've been kind of talking with community members in that area as our Park Ridge plan, right? So this playground is scheduled to be replaced in 2026. So with a lot of those things coming together, finding out a location for that and fulfilling that obligation of that playground set. Tablin Park is also on review for replacement. With that park, we'd probably definitely wait for that scheduled priority that we plan to put together for that one, and really review that playground set in general again before we venture down that aisle of replacing that one, but definitely on our work plan for 2026. Next one, review and address pickleball noise in Pebble Park. This came up several months ago. Before opening in the spring of 2026, I'd like to have a plan for that and likely implement that plan long before that. We do already have some prices together for sound barrier as well as some fencing that would need to occur there. So Plan to bring that up here very quickly in order to address that pickleball noise in the spring of 2026. And the final one was brought up at our last meeting as well, but makes a whole lot of sense. It's in our work plan, our Parks Master Plan, is develop a Lions Master Plan, right? So really working with our consultant, putting together a plan, not only community engagement, but also with the commission here as well, to put together a master plan for that area, so we know what to expect in the forthcoming years. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Hank, for questions on.
Questions from the commissioners on this portion, planning and policy? Is this where we would add in the reservation policy review? Policy, park use policy, would you want to put it in this category, or,
We can throw it, oh,
okay. Other things?
One of the things that we very briefly in passing talked about was, and I think we talked about it because it was part of the, oh, never mind. That is what you're talking about right here, the
Yeah,
park use. I
yeah,
was thinking
yeah.
code of conduct is what I was gonna term it, but that's what you're talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
disregard. I'm up to speed here.
It's okay. It's okay. Other comments?
Can I this is just a general comment, but it might be for the whole document. Do we ever, and since this is the first work plan, I'm going through, can we outline the 2025 and what we accomplished and what we didn't? And is anything carrying through from the 2025 work plan?
we could review the 2020.
So not that we have to do it now, but
Oh.
could we get a list of just
Oh.
what we completed from the 2025, and if there's anything that, again,
Yeah,
should be moved forward, or it just, the timing didn't work out, or
yep,
it didn't make sense anymore, or whatever. I think that would
Yeah.
just be helpful, just to kind of track from year to
Absolutely.
year.
Or just celebrate our
Right,
successes.
right. Well, there was a lot, I mean, I
Yeah.
did look at it, and there was a lot of things that were done, so
Yeah.
it, and. you
But I
know,
agree. I think revisiting it is something that would be a helpful part of this process. Not necessarily tonight.
And it could just be last year's list with the
Yeah.
updates.
yep.
Other comments? This is minor. Can we change review and address pickleball noises to review and mitigate?
This is also minor, but the next line has a typo in it, the master plan.
Thank you. Oops.
MIT. Under pressure,
But it does matter.
being watched, it's so hard.
All right, other comments on planning and policy?
Do you have a priority level for that, Chairman?
Or,
Reviewing the park use policy?
yeah, I think it should be at least a 2, if not a 1.
So Ridge Park, that was what we discussed
Right.
recently, so that was, didn't we kind of land on potentially another concept? So it just, the way it's worded just sounds like playground replacement, versus figuring out what we're gonna
Yeah.
do there.
Like Ridge Park plan.
Yeah,
I think the thing is, the playground is being, replacement is driving everything.
yeah, so it just maybe, yeah, but it just makes it sound like
Yeah.
it's just a playground replacement.
We could add and say review master plan, or,
Yeah,
and review master plan,
just to make sure
or
it's
something like
more
that.
I think.
inclusive or
I think
whatever.
Or
you're-
just add-
You're saying that Ridge Park, like Lions Park, needs a master plan.
Or is it just Ridge Park updates with a dash, including playground
Yeah,
replacement?
something
fine.
broader
Or,
than that.
or plan, yeah, just plan, Ridge Park plan, and
Got all that?
So my intention is to bring back Ridge Park, concept plan yet in 2025 here, because that was part of the 2025
Right.
work plan.
Yeah.
So it's to bring that back, just with a regular, to review our concept plan,
Yeah.
right? So the playground is scheduled for 2026. I'm hoping with the review of that concept plan that we have an idea of where we want to, because like you said, like Hank said, that playground is really driving that concept
Yeah.
plan, right? Like, wherever that goes, that's where kind of where everything else kind of settles out,
Yeah.
in the years to come with that. So, if we want to change what else we want to do with that, I'm open to it, but I think by 2026, we'll be really looking at the playground as like our driver for that. That's all, we wouldn't be looking at any more concept plans with that.
Oh, okay, because we'll have that done before
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
Okay. Other comments?
And would review park use policy be annual or in progress, depending on how we decide?
Right now, this is an annual plan. I would say
Right.
do it annually, and we'll talk about it next year. See how that works. But I like where you're thinking. I mean, I think it's something that needs to be kind of looked at all the time. All right, moving on to maintenance and refurbishing.
In this section, projects in this category are carried out by Public Works staff and do not necessarily rely on Parks dedication money for funding and is based off the 2026 annual budget. Much of the maintenance of Public Works staff is daily operations along with weekly and monthly inspections and work that we generate with our engineering firm. Our Parks Needs Assessment, again, that is ongoing by Parks staff of just our repair, what's needed in all of our parks throughout the city of just, visually inspecting, visually, is it appealable, right? So that's what we're gathering from there. Does it need more benches? Does it need more trees? That's when that comes back to, get those requests for trees, right? And so that's what creates that needs assessment as far as what's actually needed there. Our playground, we really use our inspector to like, what is that playground's condition is? Does it need to be moved up or down on that replacement list of, or future replacement list, right? So doing a lot of things in that division. It could be scattered out a little bit, but I think a lot of moving parts go in for that needs assessment throughout the year. Our asphalt trail and maintenance inspections, our crack filling and inspections, that is mainly done by our contractor or our engineering firm. We do have an internal public works staff that goes around and does spring inspections, but when it comes down to like the years and ages of our trails that need crack filling, our engineering department does a lot of that, assessing those trails, how long they are, measuring, and going out to our contractor for crack filling. Our public works director does go out and get bids for the crack filling, but like I said, our engineering firm does a lot of like the background work in order to get there first, so. And again, finally, our playground and park inspections, again, that's done, playground's done by a certified playground inspector. Our daily public works staff are doing inspections on a day-to-day operations of if it's raking ball fields or just park cleanup, addressing hazard areas, cuts, sharp areas on playground equipment, but also on our wood structured items as well.
Okay, questions on maintenance and refurbishing?
So I don't know where this goes, but I'm gonna just bring it up. We have not talked about it, but it was a high priority in the long-term plan. And that was just the whole snow removal on trails. And, it was identified as a high priority, but we haven't discussed it at all. So I'm gonna bring it up just because it's gonna be winter soon. And it may be too late, I don't know. But I don't know where that fits in and at what point we're gonna address that.
Yeah, so our public works director has worked in a number of workshops already with city council to address that issue.
Okay.
They've actually come up with a temporary plan. It's not gonna do all of them, but they've
Yep.
kind of like really scoping out what are the high use areas.
Yep.
And really trying to, like, how do we identify high use areas? Is it
Yep.
based off population? Is it based off actual, someone standing out their clicker,
Yeah.
counting people that use it? So they are looking at those trails currently. But like I
Okay.
said, it was on a workshop, I believe, last month, but got moved again to December.
Okay.
So that is currently in conversation. Probably not quite ready yet for us, but definitely
Oh,
in
okay.
the background work being implemented, so.
Okay. So that'll come back to this
Yeah,
commission?
and, yeah, potentially,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, might not be a whole lot of say on the park side of it.
Yeah.
The trails are already there, right?
Yeah,
City
right.
council just says either plow them or don't plow.
oh,
'em.
gotcha,
So,
okay.
You
It's
know,
a
yeah.
money issue, so.
Yeah, I know. Okay,
So a lot of moving parts come with that too, is just as far as equipment, and man labor,
Yeah.
things like that,
Yeah.
you know, this committee probably wouldn't have a whole lot of
Yeah.
hands in on. So.
okay.
Anything else on maintenance and refurbishment? Peter?
No, I was just thinking about that, the last subject we were just talking about. The process to me is confusing, that we wouldn't be included in that. Especially since it was part of the Parks Master, I mean, Hank, you're not involved in that as part of a work plan or anything like that? Or a work group, rather?
Not that I know of.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'm, that confuses me, but that's not a conversation for now, so I guess. To your point, though, it does seem like a worthwhile conversation, whether it needs to go on this list or not, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the fact that we didn't know about it, I guess,
Right.
is another question.
Well,
but-
if it gets implemented, could we add to the work plan that we get an opportunity to
I think we just. make the-
review or,
I think we make the comment, that you have several people who would like to help determine that policy. Under our provision of trail interconnection, well, if it's plowed, then it's more interconnected. So I think we have a role in that, but maybe not an approval role, but maybe an input role. So there's my input, there's our input to whoever is driving this, your boss. Discussion or whatever. Okay, anything else on maintenance and refurbishing? Okay.
Additional park incentives, so in this category, establishes goals and ways in which staff and the commission can increase the use of city parks and promote community engagement, launch new and creative ways to reach park users, and gain insight on future needs. So again, we will hold that joint workshop with city council. We're going over a couple dates right now, we were talking about before the meeting, but last year we held that in February, so you can kind of expect that to be held again, third Wednesday in February in that area. So, firm date to forthcoming on that, so. We've talked about in the last couple of years already is the plan for that multi-sport complex and that park land use, that newly purchased area. So, as that moves forward, I think maybe some of us already are on some committees or some just discussion groups in regards to future plans of that, but, hopefully those plans will come back to the commission just for either updates or, even quicker responses on, potential community engagement aspects. As always, we always have park tree planting in there. I know that's been a conversation with the Parks Commission over the last few years, but just looking for additional and new ways to continue to implement tree planting in our parks. So, we do it in a lot of our construction areas or when we're doing construction projects, but how else can we implement that if it's just additional funding or, donations, however that might be, to implement those in our parks to continue that shade structure throughout and that, that huge diversity that's available out there for trees in our parks. Last one, we did have a speaker last month as well, is just continue to update the Parks Commission on the buckthorn removal process and at the Sally Manzaro Center, Nature Center and Sunfish Lake Park. So again, providing updates as well as, city staff monitoring that and making sure we have a clear, concise, direction of what we'd like to see there in the upcoming years. And the last one, add Shilkins Parks to the ski grant application. So that's kind of done internally by staff as far as adding that. We do have a number of our parks on there already, but adding that to that does bring back some money to the general fund for our general maintenance of that, but actually just adds it to a larger list of parks and ski available areas in Minnesota. So that's where that comes from.
That's for grooming, right?
Grooming, correct.
Are you thinking that would be accessible only from the lake level or from where the park entrance is?
Yeah, you could gain it from the top side either if you're coming from Lake Elmo Ave, across the south side of that park, across the future of that, or they're along the back side of the homes as well. I would suggest that you be pretty advanced if you're gonna go down to the lower part of that, but we do have hills that, in other parks that are not as steep, but do have steep inclines as well, so.
So you're currently working on the Shilkin. Is there anything to include on that as an initiative? Do we have more work to do outside of ski grant applications?
The only thing that would be left to that park is after that second phase is completed, is to finish putting in our benches on that second phase as well as our kiosk on that side as well.
Okay. Again, can you remind me, the surface is gonna be like wood chip walking
No, it's
surface?
just nature
or-
trail, so it's just very similar to what Sunfish Lake is like, right?
Okay, so.
They're mowed.
Maybe not.
Yep, they're mowed, it's just just be a dirt trail or a grass trail.
And you would anticipate people skiing or parking up top? There isn't parking,
Nope.
just street parking.
They could ski to the park.
Yeah, I can't envision how that would work, and maybe that's for future discussion as part of it. But it sounds like you're looking for a ski grant application. It sounds like that's already planned. Something I wasn't, I guess, aware of, or I'm forgetting, that we were doing that. I don't see how you get skiers to Shilkin Park.
So we've been as part of the DNR ski grant, we've been part of that for like 6 years, right? So
Okay.
we're just adding the mileage of this park to that ski grant,
So you
right?
want money.
So that we'd include it in on our grooming applications throughout the winter. That'll help improve people's ability to walk on it as well as ski.
And I know we've had, in the past, we had some work on invasive species policy. Is that something we should include on this continued initiative? I think maybe we slowed down with it, but is it worth still continuing? I guess I'm asking other commissioners more than saying it should be.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think it could nest under the overseeing efforts of buckthorn removal as well.
Because we really got it in many parks.
Well, and that's
Right.
where I mean, it's what Sally Manzara's, that nature center has done is very, very spectacular. On a smaller level, we certainly could start tackling some of this, but we just gotta work in small pieces, I think.
Right, or a plan, just a plan, develop a plan for that.
The other thing I didn't notice on here at all was, so we had a discussion with the council about a potential park manager or director. I think they had feedback to us. I don't know exactly where that's at, but is that continued on our work plan to work on that, or what's the status of that?
So, our public works director Currently, the position for that is open, and they're actually, they posted for that here about a week ago. So the parks position is probably like on a lower priority right now. They'd like to implement that public works director first, get a bigger scope of what they feel is needed, maybe bring in some different ideas, whatever it might be, to actually implement where that position lies. Does it lie as a parks director? Does it lie as a project manager for parks? Where actually that lies. So, you know, as far as like, you know, as far as the parks work plan, would we as a commission have a whole lot more involved in it? I don't believe so. It's gonna be hired by the city. We've given our input, it's out there, it's been suggested, it's been recommended, it's been, you know, number one priority. It's out there, it's listed on the list. Now it's up to where that lies as far as the director, the city administrator, of where we can implement that and how that costs.
Yeah, that wasn't clear. They said they were gonna come up with the job description and the level and all of that stuff, and then they kind of blended into the HR part of this. And it didn't sound like it was necessarily gonna come back to us to look at that job description and how it fits into the organization, so that seems to be where it was left. But it's good that you clarified that it's kind of on hold until they fill the director's position. Other questions?
I have a question on the multi-sport complex and park land use.
Thank you.
To me, it seems like this is a real need for a higher touch, like intervention, or like, you know, collaboration, not necessarily intervention. And I'm just hoping that there might be a way to capture that, or to like signal that.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask Sophia if you could add any information you can, but I know their department's working on where it lies out fiscally, you know, and I think we kind of already missed our boat as far as when to bring it to voting for the citizens. So there's only certain
Right.
years you
Yeah,
can
we
bring
talked
back that referendum,
that.
right? So,
Yeah.
so I think we've already missed our potential vote, and I went to city council and they said, hey, let's not just, you know, go
Yep.
rushing into it, right? Let's do some things on the backside first. And so we've missed that part of it, right? So we are looking at that next one that might be 2 years out?
2028.
So I know community development is working on kind of setting a plan for community engagement and what we want to see there. So what I'm wondering if it would be worthwhile to have Jason, our community development director, meet with the Parks Commission and kind of give you guys an update on where we're at with that and what the plans are for 2026. But I'm not sure about adding it to the ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and what our involvement should be or could be or needs to be.
Yeah, I guess to that end, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I felt well out of the process for this complex. When we had the meeting about it, the price tag that was on it, I had just no concept in my mind that's what we were talking about, and I felt like I missed a whole section of a conversation. So to the end of working, you know, for this line item to plan for a multi-sport complex, I don't feel like I'm part of a conversation that I would be planning. I guess I kind of, it feels the same as with the park manager or park director that we've provided input. It seems that council is more or less planning this. That's my, so I guess the reason I say that is because I don't know to what end we are doing why this is on our list, what planning we would be doing.
Unless we are.
Yeah.
Right, I think we should
guess
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Is there specific, I guess, could you say, Adam, do you know to what parts of this we would be involved in planning for this complex?
No, I think, you know, if they're going to the community engagement part of it, it's actually bringing those items back, right? To say, how does that lie with our parks master plan? Are we implementing the amenities that we addressed in there, right? Is it, you know, because we've already talked about, maybe do we make our pickleball courts there, you know,
Right.
versus other places? And I think those are the conversations that come back to here to say, you know, are we fulfilling what we need for baseball based off our previous conversations, pickleball, you know, what other amenities? Have we heard from our community members that need to be implemented in there that weren't addressed in the community survey? Or do you think that it's important to address it now, so that is implemented in there in the future?
I mean, there's
Yeah,
a,
and
go ahead.
that is such a great point, Adam, about how I feel like if we're, if we're not kept up to date with how that is going, it kind of hampers our ability to act on other items, right? Like, why would we be discussing about reviewing and addressing pickleball noise at Pebble Park if what we're hearing on the needs assessment, or if what the community is responding to in this needs assessment is, hey, you need to move pickleball. You know, we just aren't able to react to that information if we don't have it. And so, yeah, I guess I feel like that particular item needs to be more fully integrated into a lot of updates that we're given, whether or not our specific feedback is being asked for as a commission. But it just feels really important in order to help us be planful and to make good decisions.
I guess I would go so far as not just feedback, but we should be part of the process of how they determine the process of if it's community engagement. We should know when those are. Would we want to participate in those as a commission? I think, to your point, Ellen, it's just getting the feedback without having kind of the path that's gotten there is extremely difficult.
Okay. Invasive species, priority, 3, 2?
3.
3, okay.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on additional park initiatives? If not, finance.
Yes, last one being finance. Again, the Parks Commission would be looking at their budget on a yearly basis and our recreational funds. Both those are addressed in there as making the capital improvement plan for 2027, as well as, you know, public staff providing budget updates throughout the year as needed, where we are on our park funds and where we're at on our what am I looking for? Yeah, our budget for our parks, sorry.
CIP?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions about finance? Pretty straightforward. Okay, anything else? Just step back for a minute. Anything else you think we're missing? And your plan right now is to bring that back in December, right?
If you feel the need, we could bring it back in December, but otherwise we can add these and move forward. Which
Yeah,
would
just
be my
say,
suggestion.
looking for a motion. So we're either looking for a motion, or if it's too much, bring it back. What do you think? Silence is not the answer.
I move to recommend the 2026 Parks Commission work plan to the city council with the amendments we did, the additions. Do I need to name them all right now?
No.
Okay.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, discussions on the motion.
I would just ask that if we can get the 2025 list of accomplishments and for our December meeting.
Yep, you got that? Slide for accomplishments. Good December topics. Any other discussion about the motion? Hearing none, we will take a vote. All in favor of recommending to the city council the 2026 Park Commission work plan with the highlighted changes that are no longer shown to me, but that are aware to all of us. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes. And you will have a slide next month
Yeah. it's like
with,
Those accomplishments.
yeah. All right. Next is communication and updates.
Public Works staff is currently working on the ice rink for 25, 26. We will be adding that pleasure rink along the south side of our current ice rink. That'll be in the volleyball courts. We've already moved those volleyball nets, replacing a thin liner on the sand there to hold the water, but we'll have a pleasure rink there for additional ice skating out there as well. So you'll see some action going on there as far as for Public Works staff making those corrections with that. As noted before, we have done some updates into Shilkins Park. Those included adding our benches, our tables, as well as our kiosks as well in that first session. So that's all I have.
Just for Peter, I walked over there. You go over to 37th Street, go to the end, the sign's there, it's a paved entrance. Gets a little tricky because the Kings Bridge Trail Road has parking only on one side. So you have to be careful of where you park there. So it is a trick to get there. But I think it will be helped because according to the drawing, the trail does go on the south side behind those houses, right? And the retention pond there to at least connect in with the one that goes to Lake Elmo, right?
Correct, yeah. So if you're traveling from north to south behind the homes, it does go around that retention pond, almost all the way out to Highway 14.
Right.
That's gonna be a future extension or a stub that potentially could cross there if the county
Right.
would allow, right, to go to any future development on the south side of that road. But it does go around that stormwater pond and does go back all the way to the east to the asphalt trail along Lake Elmo.
And is there a northern entrance?
Yes, after phase 2 is completed, there will be a northern entrance into the park.
Yeah, if you haven't been out there, I encourage you to get out there and be careful.
On parking, Reed Park parking lot looks awesome. Good job planting trees there and getting that crosswalk done. See it used all the time.
Good. Anything else? Hearing none, it is time to adjourn, so the Parks Commission meeting for November 17th is adjourned.